Welcome to NFL World, where NFL starts and ends. This free agency today begins at 4 o'clock. That's when NFL free agency opens. Now, there's a lot of news to get into. Let's first start with the obvious. We got this news. Sorry about that. We got this news from last year. Okay, hang on a second. Okay. We got this news from last year. From last night, excuse me. And Aaron Rodgers is going to go on the Pat McAfee show within an hour. And he's going to go and talk to McAfee and his boys. And hopefully we get a decision of what he plans to do. Whether it's retire, come back, go to the Packers, get traded, whatever. At least I hope that's what it is. Because we're just waiting here. And a lot of teams are just waiting to see, okay, what does Aaron do? What does Aaron do? Like the Bears, I guarantee you the Bears and the Lions and the Vikings are just waiting to see what the Packers do. What does Aaron choose to do? Is he retiring? Okay, that's awesome for us. Is he coming back? Is he going back to the Packers? Do the Packers want it? Or is he coming back because he's getting traded to the Jets? These are questions that need to be answered. The hope is that Aaron does give us that answer, but knowing Aaron, he loves a good cliffhanger. So we'll see what happens. Other news that we just got about 5 minutes ago, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have signed or finalizing a contract with Baker Mayfield. Mayfield had an up and down year. However, I can't blame that on him necessarily. There was a lot of problems that he had, yes. However, Matt Rule got fired within the first month. So you can't say he didn't deserve it. Because if he got fired within the first, he did something. Now, Mayfield went to the Rams, and he had some success, not a whole lot of success, but he had some. Now he's going to Tampa. The only thing that could make this bad for Baker Mayfield is not the game, not the team. The team's actually really good. They're very talented. But the coach. For whatever reason, I don't trust Todd Bowles. I don't. And I said this to my family. I was like, look, Baker, you're a good quarterback. You're really talented. But Todd Bowles made Tom Brady look really bad. And you can say whatever you want. Tom Brady didn't look good. Maybe that's Byron Leftwich. Maybe that's not Todd Bowles. I was saying that the defense did not look good because, well, quite frankly, like how you look at all these teams that had a chance to get it back up, they chose not to go for Baker Mayfield. That was the thing that they didn't want to do. So I don't know what to expect from Baker Mayfield. I hope it goes well. You have Evans and Godwin and Russell Gage. Let's see what happens. Breaking news from about an hour ago. Darius Slay has been released from the Eagles. Now we announced yesterday that the Cowboys had traded for Stephon Gilmore. This happened a couple days ago and really started a couple months ago. Jerry Jones went on and said the Eagles are gonna have to pay the piper, and everyone thought he was ridiculous in saying that. He was right. He was right, and we're all fools to not admit it. He was right. You have to pay these guys. The contract that Darius Slay signed, it wasn't gonna allow the Eagles to sign him. Now, he could come back. That's what people forget. When you get released, doesn't mean you can't come back. It means you're not playing on this contract, which we'll get to in a minute. But Darius Slay, at least right now, has been released from the Eagles. Now, which team is going to be willing to go get him? That's a team I want to know. Now, well, actually, hang on a second. This is a verbal agreement. I want to make this known. This is from Fins Up Network. I'm reading it off of Twitter. It says Dolphins news. The Miami Dolphins have verbally agreed to a contract with Jordan Poyer. Contract details to come once available, currently being ironed out. Keep in mind, it's not official. It's not been signed. It's just verbal. Now, I do want to say this because this did come out. I want to explain it this way because I think what I just said about Darius Slay is relevant to what I'm about to say about the Cowboys. The Cowboys, according to Ari Miroff, are prepared to release Ezekiel Elliott per Clarence Hill, who's an insider with the Cowboys. After 7 years, Zeke's time in Dallas looks like it be coming to an end. Before I go into what the Cowboys actually could do, let me say it this way. Zeke Elliott is going to be 28. He's going to be 28 years old. He's been in the league 7 years. So he's been in the league a while. Is he what he once was? No, but no one is. That's just the nature of the beast called life. That's all it is. But when you're a running back, you don't play long anyway. Because the more yards you get, time I'm talking high school, even middle school in some cases, Pop Warner. When you play, you get to college or even to the post, you almost have 20,000 yards on your body. That's a lot. That's a reason why these guys don't play so long. They may have, like Zeke has 10,000 yards on his body. He had like 15,000 yards when he was in college, just in college. So he probably had around that same amount of time. He probably had around 20,000 before he hit college. So he's probably more around 40,000 yards than he is 20. So it's of course he's gonna start slowing down and break down and all that stuff. It's obvious Zeke's not the same. When Zeke started his career, he was a force. He was physical. He was fast. It seemed like he was never losing yardage. He would always fall forward. And yet, these past couple of years, it's hard for him to get to 1,000 yards. He's missed time. He's been injured. This year, he had just over 700 yards. He had 12 touchdowns, but he had just over 700 yards on 100 less fewer carries. That seems to tell you what it is. Now, what do I mean? What do the Cowboys need to do? The Cowboys want if the Cowboys want to cut Zeke, They said it would be a June 1st cut. It would be a June 1st cut. That's what it was said. Okay? So that actually gives the Cowboys a little more money because I think he was gonna only get 4 million if they cut him and they designated it as designated it as a March cut and not a June 1st cut, where they can get about 9 million if it was a post June 1st cut, which is what happened. Now, I want to make this clear. This could be the end of Ezekiel Elliott in Dallas, or it could not be. Just like I said with Darius Slay, how he could come back at a cheaper deal. The Cowboys, over the last couple of years, they've done this, and to a lot of fans' displeasure, where they've let a guy walk, at least for a little while, the guy would go to a different team and say, "What are you expecting you can get me?" And they go and say, "Well, we think we can get you for 4 million or 10 million." And they were previously an $18 million player. And then they go back to the Cowboys and say, "Well, they think they can get me for 8. I'll do 8 if you guys want to go to 8. If not, I'll go there." And that's how this happens. And a lot of teams do this as well. It's not just the Cowboys. The Cowboys do it more frequently because they want cheaper deals, and I understand that. But they were gonna have to rip off the Band-Aid that was Ezekiel Elliott anyway. They were gonna have to, either this year or next year. If they choose to do it this year, he could go to another team and say, "Hey, what do you think you can get me?" It may be like, "Yeah, 1 year, 4 million." The Cowboys may go and tell him, "Hey, look, see what's out in the market, then come back and give us that number and see if we match it or not. If we do match it, hey, great, you're back. If we don't match it, no hard feelings. It's business. It's the way it goes." Now, to explain all this, I will give you the best example I know how to. About 9 years ago, DeMarco Murray was the Cowboy running back, and he had an explosive year. I'm talking 14. He had an explosive year. He was phenomenal. It was a contract year. When the year came to an end, the Cowboys didn't go where they wanted to go. DeMarco needed a new contract. He didn't get it, and everyone was puzzled. Believe me, I was puzzled. I was 13 years old. I didn't understand why the Cowboys would not pay a guy. Only a couple years later did we find out why. He didn't get paid because at the time, you were always told when running backs get the age of 30, they're starting to go the other way. They're starting to go down the crapper, if you will. Not because they're terrible people, but because that's the way a running back's career goes. There's a very short shelf life. He goes, takes a deal to go to Philadelphia. At least that's what we all thought. But then you're like, wait, DeMarco was 27, similar to Ezekiel Elliott. He's not 30. They could have paid him. What we only found out a couple years later was the Cowboys had did an independent study and said, hold on, running backs don't start falling off at age 30. They start falling off at age 27. Therefore, we should get rid of DeMarco now, have a mediocre running back for a year, and then go draft somebody. Or go just draft a guy in the lower rounds. And that's what the Cowboys did. Nothing special, nothing incredibly special, but it worked for the Cowboys. And you fast forward, they had the year with Darren McFadden. They don't have a good year. necessarily. They go and get Ezekiel Elliott, and now we're in this discussion 7 years later. Nothing special. What people forget was DeMarco Murray did get a big contract, just not with the Cowboys. He went to Philadelphia, got a big contract, and played awful. Blame it on Chip Kelly because they don't wanna run north and south, they wanna run east and west. Sure, you can, but it's not the only reason. Also, DeMarco Murray did not play to what everyone thought was gonna be age 32. He played to age 30. He got traded out of Philadelphia, went to Tennessee, played 2 years, and was gone. That's what happens in the NFL. You never know. There's once in a generation you get an Adrian Peterson or a Frank Gore who are really good, even at the age of 30. They're really good. Or maybe they have connections. Just like in any business, if I run a clothing store and I get fired, but I went and I worked with somebody who works at another clothing store, they're gonna call me up and say, "Hey, look, you know how to do this, so there is not gonna really be a worry. Can you come and work for us?" Sure, because I already know how to do it, and I'm just going to another place where I have a connection. The Now you ask, well, what was the Malcolm Murray's connection? There wasn't one at that time. They were betting that Zeke would be that guy the year that he was the year previously. He what? If you're betting for Zeke, probably best bet would be Tampa. I'll explain in a minute. DeMarco did not have a place to go. They were just betting he would be the same guy. That didn't happen. With Zeke, his former running back coach Skip Peete, now the running back in now the running back coach in Tampa Bay, that could be a place he goes because he already has a connection there. Now, that would not be shocking. You gotta go be like, okay, Zeke, farewell. We love you, what you did for this team. We love that, but you understand the business. It is the way it is. It's unfortunate, but in a running back world, you don't have a great running back life. You don't stay in one area very long. The Patriots have made a decision with their safety as they are re-signing Jabril Peppers to a 2-year contract worth $9 million. Devin McCourty retired earlier in the week. They need to make a decision on who they can bring back, and Jabril Peppers is the guy they decided to bring back. Baker Mayfield's contract also is a 1-year, $8.5 million deal, so not a very expensive contract for the Bucks to make, and a starter if you feel what is going to be the case. If you don't think Kyle Trask is ready. Let me just make sure. Saints made a big addition, but it's kind of a guy you wouldn't expect. The big addition for the Saints is defensive tackle. I hope I pronounced this right. Kalen Saunders, who played with the Chiefs last year, who actually was a big reason why they went to the Super Bowl. Saunders helped out a lot, and this is really when you know he started to play. Early on, the Chiefs had a hard time to stop the run. They couldn't run the ball. They could not run it at all, period. And the Chiefs went and put Saunders in there. to stop the run. How do I know this? When they faced Tennessee, and Tennessee had Malik Willis as the quarterback, Derrick Henry ran all over the Chiefs, and they nearly won that game in a 3 yards in a cloud of dust, as the saying used to be. They put Saunders in there, and that stopped that. That's how the Chiefs won. Since then, Saunders had played in a meaningful role, and now he's going, or is expected to go to the Saints. According to Mike Garafolo, who put this about an hour ago, the Eagles will designate Darius Slay as a post-June 1st cut, which will push over $13 million of his cap into 2024. Count an $8 million and change against the 2023 cap. So you save about $8 million for this year. Not exactly great, but it is the way it is. Now, again, what does that mean? He will be a free agent at 4 o'clock, which is when he can start signing new deals. Now, speaking of new deals, the Minnesota Vikings are re-signing their kicker Greg Joseph per his agent. It's a 1-year, $2 million deal, 1.7 million guaranteed, a max of 2.5 million with incentives. Not bad, not a bad kicker, not a bad deal. It works for them. It's very cheap, and if they do feel they have to get rid of him, they can. The Cowboys yesterday re-signed Leighton Vander Esch. This probably means that they're out on Bobby Wagner. Not a definite, but probably. Vander Esch's contract is a 2-year, $11 million with incentive, with 500,000 incentives each year. So it's actually a 2-year deal, $8 million, so it's about $4 million a year, and a max of $10 million with the bonus. Okay, so it goes. He makes $1.5 million guaranteed this coming year. Next year he'll make $3 million, $1 million guaranteed, a bonus of $2.5 million, and incentives of 66% plus playoffs 300,000, 70% plus playoffs 300,000, and 80% plus playoffs is 400,000. So an incentive of about $1 million. That I believe is playtime and health. I believe that's what that is based on. But a very cheap deal. I thought he was going to get far more than that. And that's also was a surprising one. Let me make sure I have everything here. Oh yeah, the Patriots are expected to sign offensive tackle Riley Reef. And the reason why they're only expected or reached agreement, they are not actually signed, is because they are free agents, and free agency only starts today at 4 o'clock. So you can only actually sign the deal at or after 4 o'clock on today, which is Wednesday, the 15th. Let me make sure I have everything here. See, this is why, and I don't normally discuss these things, but I will here. This is why I don't care for Schefter, or I don't care for these debate shows that they don't know what they're talking about. Rogers went and said a couple weeks ago that Schefter, Rappaport, they do a great job, but they're not in my inner circle. None of those insiders are. I'll come into a decision when I will. But Get Up has Schefter actually answer questions like he's played in the NFL, and he hasn't. This is what Schefter said on Get Up this morning on the latest of Aaron Rodgers. I will not be surprised if Aaron Rodgers tells Pat McAfee yes that he wants to play for the New York Jets. But as you've been saying all week long, there are layers to this whole situation. I mean, you don't know. Aaron could go and come to the conclusion, I want to retire. I want to retire. I'm done. I'm good. You don't know. Well, I guess we'll only figure out in about 15 minutes time. By the way, once he says what he's going to do, we'll have a video for you. Pittsburgh has signed a new linebacker. They lost Spillane yesterday, if I remember correctly. They have agreed to terms with former Commanders linebacker Cole Holcomb. It's a 3-year deal pending physical. Holcomb, 26, started 48 games for Washington. A big addition for the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. That was from Tom Pelissero about from 4 hours ago. Another one that was interesting, I think, was the Lions yesterday, last night actually, they signed David Montgomery, or going to sign David Montgomery. A big deal. Get David Montgomery across into Detroit safely. You know how Chicago people are. Get him to Detroit. Send him via aircraft. Do something. And it should be okay. James Bradbury is also back with the Philadelphia Eagles. Alan Lazard went to the Jets. Put what happens today as we await from what Aaron Rodgers decides to do. That was from Rappaport. Let me make sure we have everything. Oh yeah, Vikings are signing a deal or finalizing a deal with former Cardinals cornerback Byron Murphy, 2-year deal, which is a lot more than I thought it was going to get. This is what Pelissero put about a minute ago about the Aaron Rodgers situation before Aaron goes to talk on McAfee's show. The Packers and Jets continue to negotiate on an Aaron Rodgers trade but have not yet agreed to any of the trade terms, per sources. Green Bay is not looking for multiple first-round picks like other quarterbacks like Russell Wilson and Matthew Stafford have commanded in recent years. Talks are ongoing. I like the deal. I think it's a good deal. Let's see what happens. I don't agree with people saying that they don't know what's going to happen. I think it's fair to say if you don't know what's going to happen, probably just don't say anything till it happens, and then you sound like a great genius, like I do on this show. When I don't know if something is going to happen or not, I just let it be. Final thing. Let me see if I can find it. Right. Final thing, if I can find it. Okay, well, the final thing is the Carolina Panthers have signed or expected to sign Hayden Hurst to a 2-year contract, to a 3-year contract, excuse me. Let's see what happens. Hurst is a good player. He had some good success last year with the Cincinnati Bengals. Let's see what happens in Carolina. And honestly, who's that quarterback? Because he's going to have one target to really throw to that anyone knows quite about. For NFL World, I'm Jacob Hebert. Out.